This is Kite Cutter TV with another presentation. We gotta talk about this. Okay guys, the public should be in a panic. Orange County jail population ordered to be cut in half. A judge has ordered the Orange County jail population to be cut in half so that inmates can properly social distance and abide by coronavirus safety protocols. On Friday, Orange County Superior Judge Peter Wilson ruled 1,858 inmates must be released from the Orange County jail to reduce the population by 50%. The jail currently houses 3,716 inmates, but law enforcement said the decision is putting the safety of the public at risk. These aren't low-lying offenders, said Sheriff Don Barnes of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. These are people in for very serious offenses like murder, attempted murder, and domestic violence. Seriously? Why would you allow murderers and attempted murderers to walk free? That just doesn't make any sense. The public should be in a panic and should be concerned about these releases, said Barnes. Several hundred of the inmates are considered medically vulnerable based on guidelines set for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Out of the 700 inmates in this category, 59 are in for murder, 39 for attempted murder, and 90 for child molestation and a litany of other crimes. So you mean to tell me 90 people that are in for child molestation crimes and all these other people that are in for murder and attempted murder, you're willing to let these people walk free? Wow. More than 1,300 inmates have already been released since the pandemic began. Sheriff Barnes is appealing the court's order. The judge gave Barnes a deadline of December 30 to come up with a list of inmates to be released. Barnes said he has no intention of creating that list. Thank goodness that California still has a sheriff that is willing to protect his people. Good job. If this judge is going to order the release of people entrusted in my care who I believe present is a significant threat to the public, he will have to identify each one of them by name and order their release pursuant to his authority, not mine. Basically, he's saying he doesn't want blood on his hand, and I give respect to this sheriff.
As coronavirus rages through Orange County jails, a judge orders the sheriff there to release half of the inmates. But the order has sparked outrage, with many asking which inmates will be allowed out.
And as CBS 2's Orange County reporter Michelle Gili tells you tonight, the sheriff is fighting the order.
The public should be in a panic, and they should be concerned about this release.
If Orange County's large jail population is cut in half to abide by a new court order, Sheriff Don Barnes says the public's safety will be at risk.
These aren't low-lying offenders. These are people in for very serious offenses: murder, attempted murder, domestic violence.
Orange County Civil Court Judge Peter Wilson sided with the ACLU, which sued the sheriff over concerns about inmates spreading coronavirus in congregated living areas. Conditions in the jail do not permit proper social distancing, the judge ruled. The population in the jail today is 3,716 inmates, and the judge ordered that it be reduced by 50%, which means 1,858 inmates would be released. Several hundred of them are medically vulnerable.
Of just those who are medically vulnerable based on CDC guidelines, that's 700 inmates in our care. There are 59 of them in for murder, another 39 for attempted murder, 90 of them in for child molestation, a litany of other violent crimes.
Sheriff Barnes says more than 1,300 inmates have already been released since the pandemic began. He's appealing the court's order.
And if this judge is going to order the release of individuals entrusted in my care who I believe present a significant threat to the public, he will have to identify each one of those by name and order their release pursuant to his authority, not mine.
The sheriff says a week ago, no one in this jail tested positive for COVID, yet today 416 inmates have positive tests. Meanwhile, the judge gave the sheriff a deadline until New Year's Eve to come up with his list of which inmates should be released. Barnes says he has no intention of doing that. Every inmate in this jail, he says, should remain behind bars. In Santa Ana, Michelle Gili, CBS 2 News.
In California, a sheriff is fighting back after a judge ordered him to release nearly 1,900 dangerous criminals over coronavirus concerns. Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes said that nearly 200 of the 1,858 inmates he was ordered to release are murderers and child molesters. Sheriff Barnes said he's not going to do it and will immediately appeal the judge's order, saying that if he released the inmates back into the community, they pose a, quote, significant threat to the public. Barnes said because of coronavirus concerns, they've already released 1,400 inmates, which were low-level offenders. The only inmates remaining now, he said, are serious offenders.
These aren't low-lying offenders. These are people in for very serious offenses: murder, attempted murder, domestic violence. Of just those who are medically vulnerable based on CDC guidelines, that's 700 inmates in our care. There are 59 of them in for murder, another 39 for attempted murder, 90 of them in for child molestation, and a litany of other violent crimes. And if this judge is going to order the release of individuals entrusted in my care who I believe present a significant threat to the public, he will have to identify each one of those by name and order their release pursuant to his authority, not mine.
California judge ordering the state's third largest county to reduce the jail population by 50%. The decision mandating the release of more than 1,800 Orange County inmates. It includes those that have committed violent crimes. The judge ruling that the county's sheriff showed deliberate indifference to the serious harm COVID-19 can have and violated the inmate's state constitutional rights. That Sheriff Don Barnes joins us now. Good morning to you, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I know the ACLU sued months ago. This judge heard it and said that you're violating the state's constitution and you've got to let 1,800 inmates out. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is it's really takes not into account the threat to the public. The judge's order said that I had deliberate indifference against those who are medically vulnerable within my jail. The government code in California allows me under a declared emergency to release anybody from my jail who I deem might be necessary. And we've released 1,400 inmates to date since March who are low-level offenders. The only inmates remaining now are serious offenders. And to order the release of 1,800 inmates, 700 of which would be medically vulnerable, I think is absurd. Of the medically vulnerable, 90 of them are in custody for murder or attempted murder, 94 for child molestation. It's an incredible order to be placed on me, and I have no intention of doing that, of releasing these individuals back into the community. I think they present a serious threat.
Can you appeal?
Oh, we are going to appeal. I'll be meeting with the Board of Supervisors today about filing that appeal with the state appellate court to overturn, at least stay the order.
Did the judge take into account the innocent people that are out in your community? You're trying to protect them, the ones that have children. They don't want sex offenders out in public.
I think the judge looked at this as if these inmates were the innocent people who are being subjected to, the risk of COVID. Everybody in the community is at risk of COVID right now. We have a surge that's happening throughout the nation. And to totally discard that and consider these people being vulnerable and not considering the risk to the public that they present when being released back into the community, I think is not only absurd, I think it places the community at significant risk of being victims of crime, many of them very violent crimes.
Right. The judge, his name is Peter Wilson. He said the uncontested facts found here include that conditions in the jail do not permit proper social distancing. There's no mandatory testing of staff or asymptomatic detainees after intake, and no strictly enforced policy requiring masks for all staff interaction with the inmates. And then he also says that you violated the Constitution. What is your reaction to that statement?
I think he got a lot of his facts incorrect. We have been testing inmates. We have been so far ahead of the curve when it came to best practice within our jails. We mitigated our COVID crisis down from 220 in March down to 0 as of last Monday. These inmates still have access to programs and legal services and other things. Many of them went to court. We know the first 4 inmates that showed symptoms had recently been to court, and more than likely those individuals there might have given it to them. They could have come into the jail in a litany of other ways because they still participate in these programs that have to go out in the community, guarded of course, but within the community there was service providers. We'll get that number back down. We've proven it before. But the difference that I have in my jail that's not happening in the community is we're testing everybody. The vast majority of these inmates are asymptomatic positive. I mean, they have no symptoms at all. We found out because we just tested them.
Thank you so much, Sheriff, for fighting this. And you have to just weigh everything out. We don't want anyone to get COVID, but we don't want anyone murdered or molested at the hands of these inmates that you're gonna possibly have to release. God bless you. Thanks for what you do. Okay.
I have no intention of releasing them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, God bless. Peace.